Today, that business is worth 20 hope, and they were looking for a job in the health sector. So what I'm saying is this: as you're sitting here, you have so many ideas that you can bring together. That can, whether you're a one-man business, whether you're small, you're big, you're whatever you are, you must ensure that the people that you're working with are thinking along the same lines. And the moment that you find that they're not, it's time to what? Check them out. One of the reasons that this country is where it is today, before I even make that statement, if we had 30 of Ambode in Nigeria today, and think about 2 years later, would you be sitting in this room? Be honest. If we had the Governor Ambode, his type, his person, 30 of him as governors in Nigeria today, would you be sitting in this room? Probably not. But it is what it is. But I'm very proud to say, as a Lagosian, as someone that works for government, as a woman, as a mother to a girl, as someone that thrives on the success of young people, I'm very proud to say, in 2017, I'm happy to be in Nigeria. So, there are dimensions to sustainability, okay? Private sector, public sector. One thing is the place. People tend to see the environment as the place in which they live and interact. There are consequently as many environmental places as visions people have of the space around them. Place provides an important share of the sense of belonging, an identity that are partly responsible for the generation of culture. The definition of any alternative development paradigm should take into account place-based models of nature, culture, and politics. Where are you today? What place are you in today? What is the space that you're in today? How do you see the space where you are, or the place where you are? Places are much more than just empty geographical spaces. They contain theory, culture, and society. Places are therefore a source of facts, identities, and behaviors. They incorporate notions of culture, local ways of life, and human physical and psychological health. Place is, to a certain extent, a social construct that helps people build a sense of belonging. A lot of young people have excluded themselves. They don't feel they have a sense of belonging. And that's because they've let the society, the environment, redefine their future. Who is responsible for determining your own future? Is it government? Is it your parents? Is it you? Who? You. So if it's you, what does that tell me? You need to work on your mindset. Abi? Work on your mindset. Because your train of thought is what comes out of your mouth, and what comes out of your mouth becomes your reality. Correct? So, let's redefine what a sense of belonging means to each other and to ourselves. Because once you're clear about that, and you don't limit yourself within that train of thought, yes, I may be in Lagos today, I may even live in Surulere, I may live in an area that is horrible in Mushin. It does not define your future and who you're going to be. Are we understanding each other? The second dimension is permanence. Permanence is not only merely a maintenance of present conditions, it includes changes and improvement. There's a philosophy of adaptive ecosystem management in Chicago, Illinois, and in London. And he states, for the reason permanence could be seen as the main realm of intergenerational equity. Intergenerational equity. The need for long-term thinking has always been acknowledged in the sustainability discourse. However, planning has been all too often relegated to a secondary role. Permanence is consequently the dimension where planning and consideration of the future effects of today's actions and inactions are paramount. Therefore, the explicit inclusion of temporal aspect seems especially appropriate to deal with issues related to our material, legacy, and personal transcendence. What I'm trying to say to you, I believe that the notion of sustainability should include personal dimension. Personal what? Dimension. This dimension, however, at times may be fuzzy and contested. Its definition maybe seems necessary to deal with issues to identify values, rights, happiness, and well-being. What are your values? What are your values in your household when you're being raised by your parents? Were you paying attention to those values? Does your values begin to change, or do they become stagnant? When you go to school, does your values, do they change? Do they change? Do your values change? Someone can answer. Yes, they do. For some people, they do. Because now you're beginning to cultivate your own individuality, aren't you? You're seeing the world from a different perspective, aren't you? You're not looking at the world from your parents' perspective, isn't it? All right. So by the time you finish school, you get your college degree, you begin to look for work, and let's say you get a job in corporate Nigeria. Then the values begin to what? Redefine itself, isn't it? So what we're saying is that you need to pay attention to those value systems as they evolve. All right? They have to. And the third one is persons. You and I. The idea of the existence of an individual person within each human being, similar yet entirely different to those around them, has been the subject of intense philosophical, psychological, and religious speculation. It has been argued that most human beings have always had a sense of corporal and spiritual beliefs. Let me stop there. People, especially in this climb, have a tendency to use their religious belief or to take their religious beliefs and append it to their what? To their what? I can't hear you. Somebody needs to answer that. Don't let me finish the sentence. In other words, they've redefined the environment, the space, their life by their religious beliefs, isn't it? So we can all argue in this room whether it's right or wrong. To each his own, whatever works for you. But the question you should be asking for yourself, is it working for you? Because just as it is in the Bible, I'm sure it is in the Quran, there are rules. There are rules that you're supposed to follow. Being governed by a government, being guided by your Bible or your Quran. So don't let us get it twisted. What was happening in 15 something AD compared to what's happening in 2017 are two different things. Are we together? So when your imam or your pastor or somebody in the religious belief wants to embed the belief system of those so many ADs ago and want to apply it to what's happening in 2017 in Lagos, guess what? You need to check yourself. Because let me tell you, people have been to my office to tell me, you know, I want to do this kind of business. But, you know, in the church and in the mosque, they will tell us it's a sin to do so. Excuse me. Only God knows who's serving him, isn't it? So, before I close, I want to say this, that whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, how many Muslims do we have in this room? Let me see your hand up. Okay, so that means we have a lot of Christians in this room, right? A lot of future reverends and pastors. Just joking. There's a saying in the Quran, Waufa widu amri ilaha innon laha bashun bilibat. Whatever I am today, wherever I'm going to be, whatever it is I'm going to be, belongs to the Almighty Allah. And I'm sure the saying is in the Bible. Who you're going to be, who you are today, belongs to the Almighty God. So don't let anybody tell you different. Don't limit your ability to move as fast as you can in your thought process. Slow down. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Yes, that one may have a Porsche, but do you know how he got his Porsche? People will come home from America, they will buy their Bentleys and Mercedes, and even parents will be saying, oh, Rio Molagbaja, oh, be Bentley Wale, oh, Maboshe be Bentley Wale. But we all know where they are today. Are we together? So, outside of your own spiritual beliefs, let's get our heads straight. Let's sort out professionals amongst you. Let's cut out all our egos. No job or no business is too small for you. So, in closing, I say thank you very much for listening, and God bless you.
Can we have a big round of applause for Tony Anjos Ademuyiwa for that wonderful presentation. So we're well and into the second session. Please remember to write your questions down and pass them to the ushers. We'll have a Q&A session in a moment. Our next speaker is also from the Lagos State government. Our next speaker is an official of the Lagos State government. He's the Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. His name is Akintunde Oyebode. Can we have a round of applause for him, please?
Akintunde Oyebode. Prior to being appointed as Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, Akintunde Oyebode spent over a decade in various banking roles with top commercial banks in Nigeria. He was head of SME banking at the prestigious Stanbic IBTC Bank. He is also a research assistant at the Lagos Business School. Please welcome Akintunde Oyebode.
Let's have a big round of applause for Akintunde Oyebode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, the problem is, you guys have listened to Steve, so there's very little me I can say that Steve hasn't said. Right? So, he's smarter than me, he's better looking. So, the only thing I can say that he hasn't said is, and I'll start with that, is that I work for an agency of government that provides funding to small businesses. So, the beginning of this conversation is, we hope that there are people within this hall that would end up being beneficiaries of the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. I think that's where we want to start the conversation from. Because at the end of the day, this energy and this passion, super exciting, but we must end it with building sustainable businesses, creating jobs, making Lagos and indeed Nigeria a much larger economy. And I'm particularly excited about the green economy conversation we're having, because doing this thing in environmentally sustainable manners is really critical to ensuring that businesses create double, triple bottom lines. So my slides are very few, but I'm a bit of a technophobe, so please, apologies in advance. Steve made the point better than I did. SMEs are the engine of growth in any economy. It's a known fact. So the businesses that create jobs are not the large corporates. If you think about Nigeria, I worked for a few banks. I can tell you, how many jobs do you think banks can create? It's thousands of jobs at best. If you think about all 23 banks now, none of them will create 20,000 jobs each. Maybe First Bank will try. But you know what that means? It means that even the largest 23 commercial banks, even if they were all the size of First Bank, it's still less than 500,000 jobs. In Nigeria today, 35% of our population is either unemployed or underemployed. 48% of young people, anyone under the age of 35, who is willing and able to work, cannot find a job. Those jobs are not going to come from banks, they're not going to come from telcos, they're not going to come from oil companies. There are how many telcos? 3, 4? There are how many oil companies? These numbers are small. So, while it is great for you to seek white-collar jobs, and as someone who was interviewed and hired, I will never discourage anyone from trying to work in a structured organization. I think it's also a fantastic way of learning the right attributes that help you succeed in life. But the reality of that conversation is that those jobs are now few and far between. And SMEs, while they are the engine of growth, there's also something that they do from a social perspective that's very important. Where the SMEs thrive, you see better social outcomes. Those are things like healthcare, education. You need to have money to be able to send your kids to school. True or false? The guy that doesn't have money, instead of going to a hospital, where does he go? Sorry? Aha. So he goes to a chemist, or he goes to a traditional practitioner. Now, it's not because you think, do those people want to kill themselves? Of course not. But they can't afford proper health care. That's why they go to those places. So once you can grow their businesses, what will happen following it naturally is that they can then pay school fees for their children to go to school. They can then pay to go to better hospitals. They can live in better houses. So that's why SMEs are important, not just because they create jobs and they are vital for the economy. They are also very important because they help improve the quality of life. Now, when people talk about challenges that face businesses, I'm always very keen to say, and for those of you, many of you are young, you are just starting out your careers, challenges will always bring opportunities. And it's a fundamental fact that as we are today, the level of dysfunctionality we see also in itself creates massive opportunities. And some of those opportunities are what I think we should be spending time talking about. In fact, you know what? I can actually ditch my slides. I don't really think I need the slides. You know, 2 hours ago, I spent some time in a church in Surulere speaking to young people like this. And I asked them and I'll ask you guys the same exact questions. How many people in this hall know a company called Kodak? How many people know Kodak? Some of you. How many people know Instagram? Aha. More people, right? Now, do you know the difference between Kodak and Instagram? Can anybody tell me? You know, 20 years ago, when I was in, 20 years ago I was in university. When I was in university, just going into university or something like that, yes. I don't look like I was in university 20 years ago. Do I? Yes or no? Excellent, thank you. That's good for my ego. Thank you very much. You know, 20 years ago, when we were Jambites in Unilag, there was something called motion picture. You know, motion picture, you'll be walking and then the cameraman will take your picture. You know, and you do your best to pretend that you are not posing to take a picture, right? So you'll be walking, you'll be talking to someone, and then they'll be taking the picture. Then when you take the picture, like 6 hours later, you now go to the guy's studio, you go and collect your picture. I think it used to be like 300 naira for 4 pictures. You know, I had a friend who used to take one like every 2 weeks. I used to wonder, like, what are you going to do with this? You know, you are not a model, you are not particularly handsome. Why do you like taking so many pictures? You know? But you know what is interesting here is that today, very few people will go through all of that, go and print the picture at a studio. Why do you need a studio? You take the picture, you put it on Facebook. You take the picture, you put it on Instagram. You take the picture, you put it on Twitter. Now, every one of you with a smartphone now feels, well, photographers, right? And now we all take selfies, right? Exactly. But how do we share pictures these days? With our mobile phones. So the world has evolved significantly. And as young people, you must recognize that evolution, because it's what will make you win or lose. The person who sleeps, you snooze, you lose. The person who sleeps while businesses evolve is the person that misses the opportunity. Airbnb, if you travel today, somebody can say to you, come and take a room in my apartment for a fraction of the amount you will pay to stay in a hotel. The service that lists those rooms, those businesses, is more valuable today than any hotel chain in the world. What do you think Facebook is? People say it's a social network. Today, Facebook is a media business. It's the best way to share news. It's the best way to share pictures. In fact, sales on Facebook, people have turned it into even a business enterprise. Half the time when I log into my Facebook or Instagram page, someone is trying to sell something to me. Something I don't need. Or maybe something I need. But Facebook as a business is now more valuable than any media enterprise in the world. And that includes things like CNN. But could you have thought that a young boy from Harvard University will be threatening Ted Turner, a well-known, or Rupert Murdoch? These are entrepreneurs that have been doing this media business for 30, 40 years. They knew the business. And that's where I think your hope comes from. That especially with the advent of the internet and technology, you are now at this place where your ability to succeed or fail is not dependent on who your father is not dependent on how much money you have. And I think money is important, but it's not the only thing. It's dependent on the service or the products that you are delivering and how much value you are creating to people. That's what defines winners and losers. How many people know Paga here? Paga is competing today with commercial banks. And I'm very proud of the work Tayo Oviosu is doing. Because he's come into this environment with this business and said, we will take financial inclusion to the poor people, to people who do not have access. And do you think it's free? He's solving a problem and he's making money from it. There's a lady I'm very proud of called Temi Giwa. She runs a business called Life Bank. Life Bank ensures that if you're looking for blood, if somebody had an accident or needs to be transfused, very quickly they can match the blood type and tell you which blood banks have that blood. And if they don't see anyone with the positive match, they can go into their pool of donors and ask those donors to come donate to meet that specific need. Is that not solving a critical problem? Anyone who has ever lost someone because they couldn't find blood quickly will understand what problem is being solved. And so these are people in Nigeria who have no parents of influence. They are not particularly wealthy people, but they are solving problems that affect us every single day. They are creating jobs while doing it, and they're definitely making a lot of money doing it. And even, I don't know how many of you know Steve very well. But I was one of the people who thought he was a madman when he set up X3M a few years ago. Because I thought, this is a great guy, executive at a big ad agency. Why is he taking such a huge risk? But it's high risk, high return. Now, he could have set up that business a year after he could have died. And many businesses will die. You should not be afraid to fail. Because you fail, you learn, you try again. For example, at the Employment Trust Fund, we're going to be supporting some early stage entrepreneurs. The ones that we are really keen to support are the ones that have failed before. People that have tasted failure, tasted defeat, and are saying we are going to try again. You know what that tells us? They are extremely resilient. Many people don't succeed on their first business, not even their second. Sometimes it's the third or fourth business. But we have a, and at the risk of sounding controversial, we have a culture that abhors failure, that makes it look like it is a bad thing to fail. I'll tell you a story about myself. When I got into university, right, I was a straight A science student in high school. And I had a chat with my father, who's a law professor, And, we had this random chat. You'll never believe that, a straight A student and a professor can have such a pedestrian conversation. Please don't tell my father I said so. And he said, I'm a lawyer, your uncle is a doctor, this one is here. We have no engineers in our family. You should be our first engineer. And so I filled my form and said, first choice, chemical engineering, University of Lagos. Second choice, electrical engineering, University of Lagos. I knew nothing about engineering. Absolutely nothing. Other than, being an engineer sounded very important. So I went into Unilag, got admitted, and started studying engineering. And guess what happened? By my second semester, I absolutely hated it. Hated it. And you know what happens when you hate a course? Imagine, even when you like the course and you have an 8 a.m. class, you know how painful it is to go. But imagine when you have no interest. So at 8 o'clock, and because I lived on campus, right, a few doors away was the Dean of Engineering's house. So at 8 o'clock, he used to take us this class at 8 o'clock. This was my second year. So, I did the first year, everything, no problem. So he will get to the class, I'll get there at 8:40. And then he'll single me out. That this boy lives on my street. If I, a 50-something-year-old man, can get to class early, there's no reason why he shouldn't. Of course, he was driving and I was walking. But you know what happened? By my third year, I told my dad, I said, this thing, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not interested. So he said, no, let's go and talk to the dean. So we went to talk to the dean. So the dean then said, this is a personal issue. That in my faculty you want to leave. No, you can't leave. You must finish this engineering. And so, and I'm not advising any of you to do what I did. Please, don't try this at home, like Steve told you. So I decided, the easiest way to not complete that program is not to submit my course form. So that semester I didn't submit my course form. So my father came, you the son of a professor, you did not submit your course form. So I said, well, the solution here is I want to go and do something else. So he said, okay, what do you want to do? So I said, I want to study economics. He said, why economics? So I said to him, look, this is what I want. It's a foundation. It allows me to do anything else I want to do in future. I can be a lawyer, I can be a banker, I can be anything. But I don't want to be an engineer. I don't want to spend my life on rigs, wearing helmets. It's not what I want. So we eventually agreed, and he allowed me swap departments. And in that process, I lost 2 years of my life. Well, I didn't lose, but I lost 2 academic years, But someone very close to me told me something. He said, if this is what you really want to do, 10 years from now, those 2 years, there will be a speck. You won't even remember it. Now, that was maybe 2002-ish. That's 15 years ago. My career trajectory has taken me to all sorts of different places after that. But that pressure for me to make that decision, that pressure where I thought, me, the son of a professor, swapping departments, for me to realize that I had to do something I really enjoyed doing, it cost me 18 months to 2 years of my life. And that's the reality about failing. You must learn to fail and fail quickly. The problem is prolonged failure. Because, thank you very much, in failure, there are critical lessons. Critical, vital lessons. So as a society, we must not say to people, don't fail. You know how you know that people are not even allowed to fail in Nigeria? Nigeria has very little bankruptcy laws. You can't even wind down a business quickly and say, okay, this business is done, let's wind it down, settle assets and liabilities, move on to the next thing. But that's part of the work that some of us have to do. And that takes me to the next point around the work we want to do at the Employment Trust Fund. And we've started some of that work today. Now, remember I said to you, 50% of all young people are either unemployed or underemployed. It would be irresponsible of any government to hear those kind of statistics and go to sleep. You know what that tells you? If you build all the roads, build all the hospitals, build all the schools, you must find a mechanism that puts people into jobs. Because when people don't work, what do you find? You find unrest, you find insecurity, you find insurgency. And so some of the social problems we're dealing with in Lagos today and in Nigeria are outcomes of people not being put in jobs. Because if people are in jobs, they won't be overdosing on codeine. You think we don't know? They won't be overdosing on codeine. They won't be taking hard drugs. They will be doing productive work. They won't wake up and gather around and say, there's nothing to do today, let's go and cause trouble somewhere. Because at the end of the day, we all act in our own self-interest. So it's the role of government to ensure that there's an equitable distribution of resources for the overall interest of society. And that's the philosophy behind the Employment Trust Fund. And I remember when His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Akin Umeambode, when he was campaigning, every time he went around, he campaigned about this Employment Trust Fund. And I'll tell you guys a story of how I ended up leaving my bank job for government. So I had interacted with him before he became governor. And when he became governor, I said, well, he's talked about this Employment Trust Fund. I work in SME banking. The least I can do to him is offer some advice on how I think the place should run. So I did a PowerPoint presentation of maybe 20 slides, and I sent it to him. And I said, congratulations, Your Excellency. I recall during the campaign you made this promise everywhere I heard you speak. I think that this is how to run this Employment Trust Fund. And by the way, if you need a consultant, you can call on us. So he didn't reply. So I said, it's now a governor, so now we can't reach him anymore. And then one day, a friend of mine, very interesting, a gentleman called Tolu Ogunlesi, called me and said, Mr. Man, are you stupid or something? I said, young man, why do you call me at 8 a.m. and the first thing you ask is, are you stupid? And Yoruba people, we know how to do this thing early in the morning, and he said it in Yoruba, so, you can imagine how he said it. So I said to him, why are you insulting me? He said, somebody just called me. They said Lagos State Governor has been looking for you. They can't reach you. So I said, they can't reach me. My telephone is here. But of course, I had 2 mobile phones at the time. Now I have just one, for reasons like that. And I lost that phone number, and that's the number that they had for me. And so I reached out to an intermediary, and he said, young man, the governor has been looking for you. Shebi, you sent him something. So I said, oh, he read it. He said, he said you should come to see him. And it was a brief conversation, and he said to me very quickly, this thing you did, come and implement it. So I said, no, this thing is like a consultancy, So he said, no, you see, this is the problem with you young people. You sit down, you do PowerPoint. Now we say, come and do the work. I say, you can't do it. So who do you want to solve the unemployment problem for young people? A 60-year-old person? Come and shape is your problem. Come and solve it. So, at that point, I couldn't move forward. I couldn't move back. So I said, okay, just give me 24 hours. Let me think about it, And of course, I consulted the other stakeholder who was going to feel the impact of such a career change, my wife, and said to her, things might be a problem for a while. But thank you very much. What I realized from that discussion was we have to solve the problem ourselves. No one is coming to solve this problem for us. And that's why every day when we go to work at the trust fund, we're looking for people like you to benefit from this fund. We're looking for success stories like you. What will give us so much joy is if someone said, I came here today, I didn't think that I needed to have a career in media and marketing, but I listened to Steve Babaiko and he inspired me. I started a business and I went to the Employment Trust Fund and got a loan. And 3 to 5 years from now, you're employing people, you're on your own path to success. Nothing gives us better joy. Nothing. That's the fulfillment there. And so I'll speak very briefly to what we do. We do a bunch of things. It's not just lending people money. That one is very, if you ring a bell and you say you're giving loans, from here to Bonicam, you get a queue. But we provide loans to small businesses, and we recognize that there are many of you that have never done business before. But you have a business, you've been trained, you've gone to entrepreneurship training, you've gone to vocational training, you've learned to be a photographer, but you just need 150,000 to buy that first camera. We provide loans of up to 250,000 for such people at an interest rate of 5% per annum. And because you are just starting out, we'll give you 3 months to start the business, make some revenues before you start paying back your loans. Thank you. And that program is primarily for people under the age of 35. Because you are the ones who are least likely to have the requirements for formal financial products. Because if you go to a bank, you need to bring a house. I worked in the bank, I know. If you don't bring a house, you must have a contract with a corporate. If you don't have that, you must have stock in your shop. So when you now go and say, I'm a creative, create what? They'll listen to you, sometimes they'll serve you some coffee, but at the end of the day, when you are leaving, you realize that what I came for, I didn't get. But it's not their fault. It's because you are not at the profile of what they can support. Because banks are also they also lend depositors funds. So they need to be extremely careful. They can't take the kind of risk you want them to take. So, of course, because I was once a banker, I always say, don't bash the banks unfairly. Our role is to recognize that at the different stages of a business, there must be different types of financial services to support them. So yes, we'll provide some loans to startups, but if you then run a business, you've been running the business, but you've not incorporated a company, you don't even know what CAC means, we can't lend more than 500,000 to you. Again, same interest rate, same tenor. But if you are put together, you have a business name, well registered, you have bank accounts, we can then lend up to 5 million naira to you for a period of 3 years. Again, interest rate is 5%. For all of these loans, there are certain things you must have. Of course, you must live in Lagos. Yes, of course, this is the Lagos State government. And the only way we know you live in Lagos is if you give us a residence card from LASRA, the Residence Registration Agency. Of course, for those who have just started doing business, we don't expect you to be paying taxes, but we expect you to at least registered that you are ready to pay taxes. And for those who run businesses, they must show evidence of tax payment. And you know why? Because the money that we are providing, that we are lending, has only come from people who have paid their taxes. And it's part of government's ability to distribute resources equitably. I always say to people, when you ask why is there a need for government, I always say, power is a very good example. Steve, I'll see him outside, we'll shake hands, he's a great guy, I think I'm a great guy too. But Steve isn't going to say, Akin's a great guy. That's my 20 kVA generator. When he puts it on at night, he's not going to say, give Akin some power. Because he's worked hard to be able to buy that generator. It's for him and his family. It doesn't extend next door. If you allow people build roads, where do you think they'll build the roads from? It's from their house. If they try, they'll build it from their house to where they walk. I'll tell you a story. The day I went to visit a friend of mine, interlocking blocks to his house. I went there 3 weeks later. Guess what? The whole place was sandy again. I said, the roads disappear so quickly. So the guy said, that the man that did the road, the Omoniles didn't give him the rights to build the estate he wanted to build. So in anger, the guy came in the night and uprooted his interlocking blocks. That's why government is important. Because government distributes resources equitably for all of us to benefit. And that's why it's important that you pay taxes, because it's out of that tax that we give back through the fund. Now, apart from these things, we'll also say you must have a guarantor. And if you want to borrow more than 500,000, you must have 2 guarantors. You know why? Because if nobody can stand for you and say, this person I'm giving, that's taking a loan from you, if he doesn't pay, I'm confident in him, I will pay the money on his behalf. That means that maybe you are not someone we should deal with. So once you bring all these things together, and of course, if you want more than 500,000, like I said earlier, you need to have bank statements. If you bring all of these things together, within a 6 to 8 week period, we are guaranteed to give you feedback. And I meet people today who say, thanks Employment Trust Fund, you helped me open my new outlets. Or there's a gentleman, for example, who does mobile charging units and says it was because of you I could buy mobile charging units to take to the NYSC camp in Ikpaja. And those stories, I think, are the things that gladden our hearts, that people are not only repaying their loans, they are actually creating jobs and improving the economy of Lagos State. But outside of entrepreneurship, and I think I'll spend a minute to say, we are now very strongly considering a dedicated program to environmentally friendly businesses. So if you are in a recycling, waste management business, we're actually going to create a special scheme, and we're thinking about how to fine-tune that now, specifically for environmentally friendly businesses, because our environment is now a critical part of this conversation. Thank you. The days of doing business in an irresponsible manner, those days are gone. So we need to take care of this environment better, and the only way we can support that is by dedicating a pool of funds to supporting businesses improving our environment. But outside of that, not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Not everybody will take risk, and so some people are better suited to being in paid employment. And we mustn't demonize it. I worked in paid employment. I still work in paid employment. I'm still a public servant. In fact, you all are my employers now. But the reality is that you must balance both. So we are creating also an employability program that we are working with the United Nations Development Program on. to create jobs in 5 sectors. And it's manufacturing, construction, healthcare, hospitality and tourism, and entertainment. And because we feel that, first, Lagos is one big construction yard. 2, it's the home of entertainment, and we want to make it the home of entertainment in sub-Saharan Africa. So all of these sectors, we will find employers, sit with the employers, and we started those discussions now and say, what skills are you trying to hire for that you cannot find? And then we will train people, again under the age of 35, but not just train them and shake their hands and give them certificates. At the end of the training, we are placing successful applicants into jobs. And I think that's the missing link we've always had, where we train people, we push them back into society, they end up doing nothing. And we think that by intervening in these ways, there are many of you in this room today who, I would say, just look out for us on social media, at LSCTF, go to our website, lsctf.ng, and on a regular basis we'll be providing updates. And the last thing I'll say is, ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, you know, many of you are going to be the ones that will decide if you succeed or fail. You know, and you must recognize that doing business is not easy, creating wealth is not easy, paying salaries is not easy. And for those of you who decide that that's the path you want to tow, there's a lot of support from us at the Lagos State government. But ultimately, the person who decides if you're going to win or lose will be you, the entrepreneur, the individual. On that note, I'd like to thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Akin Oyebode. Okay, so we don't want to waste any time. We want to take questions for some of our speakers. So I think we will invite you back to come have a seat on the panel. Mr. Steve, Mr. Akin.
But Mr. Akin Oyebode won't be able to join us for the Q&A.
Oh,
but you can send
leaving.
your questions to the Edge platform. And he'll respond to them later. Thank you very much. A round of applause for him, please. And for our wonderful speakers. Please get your questions across to the ushers, and we'll throw it to the
Please, you have to do
panel.
that really fast. We're receiving the questions, so if you did not hear your question, just know that it's been edited. I think we have one.
Okay, this first question is for Mr. Steve Babaiko. It says, how do you make money from uploading content on social network and also having more followers, that is 1,000 or more followers? Do you get paid for it?
Well, it's actually, again, she said that this mentality of always putting money first has to change in Nigeria. Honestly, unless we change that mentality, we're not going to create nothing. Apple started in someone's garage. I'm sure when Steve Jobs started, he wasn't thinking of the global phenomenon that Apple has become today. But I tell you, advertisers, people, brands, all they want are eyeballs. They are looking for opportunity to see. Where am I going to communicate my brands that people will see it? Now, for those of you, I saw when I asked how many of you know Wole Agba, I saw quite a number of hands in the air. He didn't always used to have the amount of followers he has today. But today, how he monetizes that platform is that he has this short skits that he puts up. I go there regularly. Sometimes at night I find myself waking up to say, has he posted a new video? Because we have interest, advertisers to give him messages to say, okay, there's this event coming up in London on August 17th. They pay him, he does the content and he puts it there. But as long as you focus your mind on just creating brilliant content, money will come. The architect of Dubai, when His Royal Highness, when he started building Dubai, people were asking him, why are you putting so much money in this place? You know what he said? When we build it, they will come. When you build that fantastic platform and you put fantastic content in it, money will come.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Steve. Okay, this is another question for you. I'm a copywriter and I have created I've created advertising concepts, TV commercials and billboard for certain brands. However, I have been unable to get my content to some of the corporate organizations because they don't deal with freelancers, especially those who take measures to protect their intellectual property. What steps do I take to get my content published and monetize them?
Well, again, it's difficult because the best way you can, as a copywriter, the best road in for you is to look for an agency to start working with, either as a freelancer or as a permanent staff. I started off as a copywriter, and believe me, till today, I still write for, if I see a brief that I really find fascinating, I'm going to give it a shot, you know. But it's difficult for you to be on the outside and make any kind of long impact in this business. Don't be shy. Go in, roll up your sleeves, go look for an agency. If you're really that good, show them your portfolio. When I came to Lagos and I was looking for a job, it took me 2 months or so to get a job. I kept on giving myself imaginary briefs, writing concepts to it, and those are the things that I kept on knocking on agencies and say, look, I am good at this in this field. Give me a test or give me a job. But today, I have moved from being a copywriter to setting up a group of company that employs over 100 people, that every year, apart from creating jobs and creating employment, in the past 5 years, we've always done intervention in schools with Lagos State government. We've renovated blocks of 5 classrooms in our first year. We have provided maybe toilet facilities to reformatory homes for boys. And this year, to mark our 5th anniversary, we've traveled all the way to Chibok, that school that Boko Haram burned. We have provided about 370 chairs for the students in there. Thank you. But this journey did not start in a day. It did not happen in a day. It was gradual steps. It took us 5 years to get here, so you must start your journey somewhere.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This next question is for Tony Anjos Ademuyiwa, and it says, there's a lot of techpreneurs in Nigeria, and we've seen that information communication technology is the future. And it's quite interesting that Lagos State has a department for creativity and innovation for Lagos. What step is your department and the Lagos State government in general taking to leverage on technology and tap into this budding talent that we have in Yaba? Mark Zuckerberg was in Nigeria, and that's a testimony to what we're doing in the tech space.
Thank you. Well, you'll be glad to know that when we were celebrating 50 at Lagos at 50, His Excellency announced the new tech hub. Specifically for that reason, he's expanding. He's going to have a big building around that Yaba, where the current one is right now. He's extending it and he's building a huge tech hub for that reason. So Lagos State government is on board when it comes to that. So we're expanding, and of course we're collaborating with a lot of private sector in the tech industry. We also have been receiving some technology as far as creativity and innovation is concerned in our office, and we're really excited about them. So government is working along the lines of ensuring that tech begins to, that not only that it grows, but it expands our initiatives on it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a final question for Mr. Steve. This is quite interesting. How can an upcoming artist like me get signed to your label despite my hard work?
I'm sure they ask this question more than Google. This is the question you get the most everywhere you go to.
Actually, you know what? You're right. I get this question all the time. Somebody has a nephew or a niece who sings, even to my clients, I go make a presentation to my client and they ask me, yes, there's this little nephew of mine that sings. Is there a way you can? I always make time to listen to everybody. And I tell people, if you're a musician in this country or you sing, and I don't know about you, then there's a little bit of problem. You know why? I take my time to really listen. If there's any kind of music out there on the internet, I take my time to listen. All of the platforms are not just okay to Too Exclusive. You see me, I'm a social crawler on there, listening to what is the new sound, who is doing something interesting. The only way I can tell you that you can get signed at all, forget extra music. Keep doing your thing, keep recording, keep putting in work. Justin Bieber was discovered on YouTube. He's one of the biggest stars in the world today. Like I told you, I discovered Simi on Not Just Okay. I don't need to know you. If you have that talent, your talent will make a way for you. Trust me on that.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to our speakers. They've done quite a remarkable job here today.
Yeah, talking about music, it's time to take another music break. And what?
I thought you guys would be excited about music.
Seriously? So if I announce Mr. Easy here now, you say,
Well, I would have loved this model. You know, if I went to university and then after lectures we have music breaks, I would have graduated with a first class degree.
I know,
so
right?
I don't know why you're not excited. And the artist coming on stage is wonderful, and I believe it deserves our support. Let's give a round of applause for Como Strings.
Be excited. Okay, fake it if you're not. Fake it.
Scream, shout, faint. Hello? A slight change in arrangement and we mix the bands up. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Nat Mac. You could do better than that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. How you guys doing? Are you having fun? My name is Nat Mac, and I'm here with my friend David. to play you guys 9 songs. This is called Adesua. I hope you guys like it. next song is called Fallen. But before I play this, if you want to find my music, you can just follow me on all social media platforms at The Natmac. The Natmac spelled T-H-E-N-A-T-H-M-A-C. I'm going to say that again. T-H-E-N-A-T-H-M-A-C. This is called Fallen. Be blessed as you listen. You say I'm falling, you're falling down, you're turning upside down. You're still breathing, you're broken, broken into half. You don't know where to start. It's gonna be falling, falling in and out, turning upside down, just still breathing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. But I thought you guys didn't want a music interlude. You need to apologize. A big round of applause for Natmac. What an electrifying performance. I can see that woke a lot of you up. Are we having a great time? Are you sure? Are we learning? Are you taking notes? Do I see the next Elon Musk here? Is there Mark Zuckerberg here? Is the next Oprah sitting here? Give yourselves a round of applause. So we're moving to our next speaker. He is the general manager at Ace Foods. His name is Temitope Jebutu. Let's give him a round of applause. You could do better.
Temitope Jebutu. Temitope Jebutu is the managing director at AAC Foods, an indigenous Nigerian company that processes, packages, and distributes nutritious and tasty food from the best of West Africa's fruits, herbs, vegetables, and cereals. Please welcome Temitope Jebutu.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Temitope Jebutu.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's obvious you guys have heard a lot of speakers today, so I will be speaking to you today from the agricultural perspective. So hopefully by the end of the speech, you have one or two things you must have learned, and we would have the next manufacturing and processing company from one of you in the audience. So I'll take you quickly through the agricultural landscape, share Ace Food stories, and share some opportunities that you could unlock and make yourself relevant in the sector. Nigerian agricultural landscape, it shows Nigeria has a population growing of about 180 million people. We have 92.4 million hectares of land, out of which 84 million is arable. Nigeria is known to be the major producers of a number of produce. We are number one for cassava, yam, and cowpea. We're number two for sweet potato, cashew, and okra. And sesame seed and ginger comes in as one of the top producers we have. If you look at the players in the industry, we have 85% of smallholder farmers. 85% of the smallholder farmers are farmers who have less than 2 hectares of land. And you have the medium-scale farmers having between 50 hectares and 2 hectares. And the large commercial farmers account for 5%, which are the holders of over 50 acres of land. Food in Nigeria is expensive, as you all know. An average Nigeria spends over 40% of their earnings on food. When you compare this to countries like the United States, where they spend 9%, China 35%, Brazil spending 25% of their income on food, and also majority of the 70% highlighted on the first slide, the population involved in agriculture, most of these people produce just enough to feed their own family. So they don't have so much to take into the market to sell. And Nigeria's population is growing, like we've mentioned. Nigeria is projected to hit 450 million people by the year 2050. We are also projected to become the 3rd largest country on the planet by 2100, when the population would have hit 750 million people. And as I was releasing, the question that should come to our mind is, if right now we're not self-sufficient in food production, when we hit 450, we hit 750 million, then how are we going to feed ourselves? Looking at the food imports, Nigeria imports quite a lot of food. One of the biggest imports comes from the United States. the United States being where we import wheat from. And it's interesting to note that Nigeria has a climate that allows us to grow all year round. And we're importing from a country that has about 4 to 5 months of good planting weather. Now the rest is taken over by winter. Yet this country are able to produce enough to feed their population of over 350 million, while we, with a population of 180, with arable lands of over 84 million, we're yet to be self-sufficient for food. I think that's interesting. The demand for food in Nigeria and in Africa will continue to grow. And with the demand growing would mean the shortage will continue to happen, because we're not producing enough to match the growth in population. And countries combined, we account for 75% of the world cocoa exports. However, 6.5 billion now turn around the cocoa, add value to it and make it into chocolate. The chocolate industry is about $100 billion industry. But it's interesting to note 75% of what it requires to make this chocolate came from Africa. However, 6.5 billion was what was used to transform into 100 billion. So this shows to tell the impact of value addition in terms of production. The more value you are able to add to things, the more value it's able to command. Taking you through Ace Foods' story. Ace Foods started in 2009. We began operation in 2010. I would ask the question, who knows Ace Foods here? Okay, very few people, but I can tell you everyone here, if not 90%, you actually taste Ace Foods every day. We happen to be one of those companies you don't hear of so much, but we are suppliers to a lot of the multinationals and a lot of the fast-growing FMCG companies who would use our product as an ingredient. So if you ever wonder, the seasoning you find in a lot of these noodle companies, in 2013 was when we decided to go retail. And at the retail level, you might find some of our products in some of the leading supermarkets. And that's the only contact you get to us directly. But for the most part, you all taste us in something every day as an ingredient. So we started in 2010, like I mentioned. And we started in a small building along Abeokuta Expressway. We started with 2 employees. And I've heard a lot of people talk about challenges in the SME. And I'll tell you, if there are challenges, we faced challenges. It got to a point where we had to do our risk assessment, and we understood where exactly was coming for us. In terms of our raw materials came from the north. And just about the time we started Operation Boko Haram started. So it means a larger part of the north had to be cut off because we could not access them. We had to stay with just a very few parts to supply us the raw materials. We rely 100% on generators. As you can tell, we've had power outage about 3 times since I've been here. So we rely 100%. We do very little with the PHCN. And we've been growing since then. Going to the next slide, some of our products, we have complementary foods. For the complementary foods, we are one of the major suppliers to a lot of the IDP camps around Nigeria. They would hit our soya maize and some of our other complementary foods. And some of the spices you would find in ingredients all around. You'll find black pepper, garlic, ginger, and so many other spices that we produce. Today, we operate from a 5,200 square feet factory. We have over 64 employees. We still rely on generators, I should add. And you find our products all around, major suppliers to a lot of the FMCGs. And we work with over 5,000 farmers across Nigeria. We have farmers scattered all over. And part of the things I would like to pass around is our raw material demand. Even though we work with 5,000 farmers. If you look at chili being a good, one product Nigerians consume a lot, we come from farmers that we work with. A lot of difference in the maize that comes from the farmers and maize that comes from the farmers and the farmers we work with. So same goes for all the different raw materials that we work with. We have a team of agric extension officers. We still cannot meet the demand for turmeric. If you ever wonder what turmeric is the active ingredient you find in curry. It's also very, very helpful for a lot of the ladies in the cosmetic industry. They'll use for the skin, they'll use for the hair. And we process about 20 metric tons of this monthly. And I can tell you, because Nigerian turmeric has a very good medicinal value, which is the curcumin. So this is becoming more and more enticing to exporters. You know, so you have a lot of turmeric leaving the shores of Nigeria every day. Also, as part of the major drivers of opportunities is the growing youthful population, which we represent here today. Nigeria's population is expected to hit 450 million, like I earlier mentioned, and 70% of this population are under 35 years old. And just like it was mentioned earlier, under 35 years old, there's a lot of you that you are either unemployed or underemployed. And agriculture over the months has been clamored to be the next big frontier. You know, so I'm sure if either of us or all of us were able to key into some space in agriculture, we would be able to make some ends meet. The rising cost of food. Food will continue to rise if we do not take action. We're importing a lot of foods. You know, it's interesting. Nigeria produces a lot of maize, but we still import maize because we can't meet the production is not able to meet the demand. So it becomes necessary to meet up the demand with some of these imports. The growing middle class. Nigeria's middle class between 2000 and 2014 grew by 11%. And this middle class has led to a lot of the mothers joining the workforce. Gone are those days where the mother of the house, she had the time to go to the market, buy the vegetables, the tomatoes, and everything raw, and then blend. Now you're finding a lot of these goods being sold in pre-processed, because those times that they used to have, they don't have it anymore, because now she has to work, just like the father of the house has to work. And this has led to a lot of convenience food being introduced into the market. And if you look at our supermarkets today, 70 to 90% of these SKUs you'd find on the shelves, they are all imported products. You know, and that shows there's a gap between us being produced, what we produce and what we are able to process. Also, a lot of the processed foods, even in the market, they've not been able to hit a lot of the supermarket shelves because the way these produce are packaged. You know, you could see some produce, and because it's made in Nigeria, a lot of people expect it to look not as good. But gone are those days, you know. Now, if we're able to package our produce in very attractive and good manners, a lot of these produce would actually find their ways into the shelves of the supermarket. You know, if all we did alone was sell in the supermarkets, we would be sustainable. You know, I can tell you we have very high cost of production, but notwithstanding with this high cost, we're able to stay in business. We've been in business now going to 7 years, and I can tell you every year we've grown by more than 100%, and this year we'll be growing by close to 200%. You know, that shows you that there's a lot of gap, there's a lot of demand for ingredients, there's a lot of demand for food that a lot of us can come in and play a part in. You know, the changing taste buds remains one. You know, there's a lot of us, what we used to like, we don't like anymore. You know, even for food, just like you have your smartphones, a lot of us expect our food to multitask. You know, and for us now, we're thinking of vitamin A fortified maize. We're thinking of so many micronutrients that can be present in food, because people want to eat one meal and they expect to get everything they could have gotten from so many other meals. You know, so those are the areas that it becomes important for us to look into. What are the key takeaways here today? Agriculture is not a way of life. Neither is agriculture a developmental program. Agriculture is business. We work with 5,000 farmers, and one of the things we do over the years is to measure their net benefit. And I can tell you, every farmer grows every year. There's an increase in the next benefit. You know, it's important we key in and realize that there's so much to be made from agriculture. There's so much ginger that can be exported. We export ginger on a monthly basis, and we know the demand for the ginger. You know, there's the demand for the turmeric. There's the demand for so many other produce, for sesame, going out of Nigeria. You know, there's great demand for this produce. You know, also, one of the statistics I found is the world's largest exporters, China, United States, and Germany. It's interesting to know that the greatest amount of billionaires and millionaires come from these countries, and a significant factor is the fact that they export is the fact that they do a lot of value additions. You know, it's the fact that they grow locally and they're also able to connect with the global market to get a share of the resources it has to offer. Also, value addition is key. It's good to make money from the chili, but it's better to make money from the processed chili. You know, like I've explained with the cocoa, you know, the value you had and the income you had, you know, there's a huge disparity. You know, if you're able to add value, you can grow significantly. And Nigeria needs to feed Africa. We have a long ways to go, though. We've been in states where Ogun State is saying they want to feed Lagos. You know, so I think as individuals also, it's important for us to make a decision. You know, we want to feed our communities. We want to feed our states. You know, part of these feeding programs, you know, that could be introduced. Even the supermarkets, you know, to get your produce fresh, you know, it's important that we assess them and figure out what can we supply a lot of these people. You know, if you look at your shelves, you know, you look at their shelves, you know, there are so many things that they lack that you can provide. You know, so I hope as we leave here today, we understand that there's so much value we can add. You know, tapping into the agricultural space, we can either go in as farmers, we can go in as aggregators, we can go in as processors, as retailers, or as distributors. You know, but at the end of the day, let us key in and let us be solving a problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Temitope Ijebutu. That was really fast, that was straight to the point, and I hope you all listened to him because he made some really important points. For those of you sending questions, I read some questions, people asking how they can make money, you know, how they can sell this, how they can market this and that, and it's incredible that while he was making his presentation, I was hearing murmurings, you know. Most of you were having conversations and doing whatever. But he was saying important things. For those of you interested in making money, you might want to pay attention to our next speaker. He just came in. And for those of you who were here last year, he was also one of our speakers, and he inspired us, he motivated us, and I want to believe that this year he will do the same, even bigger, even better. Not to forget, please join the EDGE series online community. We might not be able to take all your questions, we won't be able to take all your questions today. But when you join the online community, you can send in your questions, and within the week, those questions will be answered. We're also on social media, the EDGE NG on Twitter and on Instagram. So tag the EDGE in all the pictures and make sure you don't just follow. Are we ready for Mr. Jimmy Tewe? You're excited, right? I know. He just came in all the way from Ibadan. So please give him a rousing ovation, Mr. Jimmy Tewe. You can do better than that. You're not tired, are you?
Tewe is an internationally sought-after speaker who has graced several platforms within and outside Nigeria, including the Harvard Business School. He has been recognized as one of the 100 most influential Nigerians and has won several awards for his work done in the personal development space. As an international speaker, Jimmy speaks to individuals at events and corporate interventions on several insightful topics which inform and inspire them at the same time, and a well-recognized voice in the public speaking space in Africa. Please welcome Jimmy Tewe.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. One more time, good afternoon, everybody. All right, how's it been so far? I can hear you. It's been long, but good, am I right? Have you learned anything today? Are you better than the people that did not come? Aha, put your hands together for yourselves, all right? All right, I just had to be here. I apologize. I'll be here earlier. I'm telling my brother, Ayo, I need to get a private jet. Do you think I need to get one, right? I mean, Ibadan to Lagos will be like 5 minutes. Am I right? We'll not be doing Edge conference anyhow. All right, so but it's been amazing, and we're closer to the end of this conference today than the beginning. I'm quite excited about it because I'll say this to you, that if I had had the same opportunity that you have today, maybe I might not be here. I'll probably be farther than I currently am right now, okay? Most of us are students, am I right? And that's amazing. I think that you are advantaged. Why? For me as a student, I don't think I ever attended an event like this, all right? Unfortunately, you know, I was studying a course that I didn't like. How many are in that kind of situation, all right? Or a course that they gave you. How many of you did they give you a course? Ah, hey, that's a serious matter. All right, it's fine. Well, whether the course or is the one you don't like or is the one you like, you are in school. Am I right? That one is final. Now, what I'm going to share with you very quickly before the final speaker will come up, and then we'll have a quick question and answer. And let me teach you something. One of the characteristics of people that are great is capacity for endurance. Let me say this to you. Things will not always be easy for greatness. If it was easy to be great, everybody would be great. But I did a survey this morning when I was in an event in Ibadan, and I asked people, I said, how many people believe that everybody in life will be great? Everybody, most people, I think only one or two said it's possible. I don't think it's possible, not because it's not possible, but the fact remains that most people will not do what is required to be great. Are we together on that? So your being here today is, for me, something I applaud and I salute. And one more time, if you don't mind, put your hands together for yourselves and applaud yourselves. All right? So now, you guys are getting this free. So I think some people here deserve a standing. It's Morox. He calls the shoes Morox expressions that could stay in Ibadan and look for resources available to him in Ibadan as paupers. Pull on your gifts, pull on your talent, pull on your capacities so that you become who you really are. Unfortunately, we have systems, educational systems, that are designed to pour into you, pour stuff into you. Many of those things, they are not things you're interested in. Are we together? Am I saying that school is bad? No. Understand that school is not about just the lectures. School is about the discipline. School is about the fact you can bond with people. Work, that's why you have group work. Assignment says that you are meant to submit something tomorrow. You need discipline for execution. That is education. Are we good on that? So it's beyond that, you know, and that's why people have first class in school, but they have third class in life. And there are those that have third class in school, and they have first class in life. Now, third class is not a key to success. Don't misunderstand me. Are we together? What I'm saying is this, that you must make the most and maximize every opportunity that you have. Now, I'm going to share something because I know that Ayo asked me and said, you know, that one of the things we want to speak about is how do you gather people around your vision? And let me say this to you. I remember the first event I ever organized in my life. It was in 2001. And that was the first time I would ever do anything and try to mobilize people. That event was my first public speaking event. I decided to coordinate myself. The hall was full. How many people do you think were there? How many? 5. Wickedness. Why now? We had 43 people in attendance. Now this, you know the thing that tripped me the most? Before the event, now please understand, I used to be very reserved, very shy and all that. But when you have a vision, it makes you speak. All right? I'm not going to go there today. I had my colleagues and my friends that joined me and said, Jimmy, this program, I will be an usher. Jimmy, this program, one guy, Kayode, he says, I will bring generator for you. Somebody said, Jimmy, my own is that I'm going to welcome the guests. Somebody said, I will make snacks. And the question is, how could Jimmy get people of their own volition to share in his dream? Ladies and gentlemen, no matter how big your dream is in life, you will need people to fulfill that dream. And let me say this to you. You are not too young to start dreaming. There are people that are in universities today and they are millionaires. People in universities today that are doing outstanding things. They are getting scholarships, they are getting fellowships, they are traveling to the US, the UK, even while in school. Don't limit yourself. But how do you get people to buy into your dream? Oh, I have, Mr. Terry, I have this dream. I want to sell this, but I don't even know how to get people to invest in it. I don't know how to people, look, this is real. I came here in the year 1999 to this same hall. There was a conference going on called CTO. I can't remember the name again. It was a computer, whatever. I remember this place was demarcated into whatever, charms, all of them were all here at that time. What brought an Ibadan boy to Lagos? It was my friend's dreams. I had this set of friends. University then. We went to primary school together, secondary school together, and then university together. And like play, like they say, in 211 we started the company. And when we started the company, I was looking at them, I thought they were joking company. We have not finished school. In my mind, you must finish school before you start the company, 2 of us. And so I was looking at them. And before I knew it, they began to make money. I said it's a joke. Until one day they came back from a meeting in Lagos. Jimmy, guess what? I said, what? They said Lagos Business School just signed us on to build a website. When I heard the amount, I said, wherever you go, I will go. Whoever you serve, I will serve. Your God shall be my God. I'm not playing. I mean, if you are me, what will you do? So I followed them everywhere. That day they came for a conference. I said, forget father, forget mother. Where you are going, I'm going. I came. The only problem was I saw everything and I was more confused. They bought books. I will buy it. I will open the book. I couldn't understand it. They said there's coding. I don't understand what do you mean by coding. But anyhow, after a while, these guys began to sell computers. Those days in Computer Village, you go, they will couple a computer, 60K, I can't forget. And I think out of pity, they said, Jimmy, if you sell one computer for us, we will give you 10% of the profit. When I have 10%, my mind goes 10% times 1,000. Anybody like me in the house? You are okay. You just think big, all right? 10%. I went to everybody, my uncle. Uncle, you must buy. He had a computer, but you must buy another one. Everybody you must buy. I mean, 10%. Ladies and gentlemen, till today, I've not sold a mouse. You know mouse? It was what they call epic failure. I was so discouraged. And I remember that I began to have a conversation with God. I said, God, but why? Why? What did I do? Is it the village people? Let them leave me. I'm not playing, no. See, you have not gotten. I hope you won't get to that point where you start asking heaven questions. And I thought I heard something. Jimmy, you are trying to become somebody you are not. There's somebody that you are. Today, I am who I am. I hold a microphone and you want to listen to me. Are we together on that? My question is, I wonder who you are. When I think green, I think fresh. When I think green, I think possibilities. When I think green, I think something that is about to happen. And let me say something to you. There's green on the inside of you. Turn to your neighbor and tell them there is green on the inside of you. Now, that green, many people live and die with their green. They live and die with their dreams and their visions never becoming a reality. And one of the major reasons why they're not able to do that is because they don't have the right team. So what I want to share with you, 4 things that if you begin to do, you will start attracting people to the vision you have. How many of you would like to have a business? Can I see your hand up? Put your hands up. Look at that. Look at that. That is green on the inside of you. But let me say this to you. No matter how much you want to run the business, you cannot run it alone. Do you know that the only reason why an island exists is because there are other islands around it? Have you not noticed that Lagos Island is there because there's Victoria Island? If you have an island that is alone, the shore, the waters will wash it off. Are we together? So you need people. But the question is, how do you attract the right people? Team. T-E-A-M. Now, the acronym always says together, each achieves more. And that's true. But I want to share 4 actions that if you do them consistently, you will attract the right people. Number 1 is T. Tell. T-E-double-L. Tell people about your vision. Many people around you can help you, but they don't know what you do. And I'm not asking you to get a microphone and just make noise about it, but that have the potential, let them know. That first event, I remember I called them and I said, guys, I want us to have a hangout. And in that hangout, I began to share about how people are suffering from lack of financial